I looked at every option. So I'm like, what can she do to preserve her wealth? What is she thinking? And I could only come up with one option, not two, one. And it was shift your assets to Dubai, which is what like Russian oligarchs do. And her friend Andrew Tate does and brags about, and move to Russia. And so when she started talking about how living in Russia is just like living in America, and she started saying all these propagandistic things that go beyond, even beyond your typical pro-Russia propagandist who will have caution. They'll be like, I don't agree with everything Russia does, but America's wrong. Like that's a typical pro-Russian propagandist that they. I don't actually care about her too much, but she's the perfect window into what's happening on a broader level that virtually nobody knows about, which is this Russian influence op. Some people know about now, but more broadly, it's Russia's czarist TSAR, like a dictator, czarist Christianity that they're promoting that has anti-Semitism in it. And it's basically the premise is that Putin is good, Russia is wonderful, but it's also a holy government because in free societies, look at America, it's filled with filth. I mean, Russia's society is worse, but they play upon Hollywood to say, all right, well, Christianity is dying. Traditional moral values are dying in the West. Why? Because there's freedom. So if you really care about your faith, you need to care a little bit less about the Constitution in your country and embrace a little bit of dictatorship. Otherwise, you're not a true Christian. The true, authentic Christianity enforces it a little bit more so that people don't all go to hell in a handbasket. And so Candace Owens is just, they're trying to make her the tip of the spear of it, actually. But she's just a good way for me to, it's fascinating to go through the connections, but I'm aiming to make a light bulb go off for people to realize how we're being attacked and what's headed to your church, because that type of thinking is spreading very rapidly. But I started with Candace just coming out being pro-Russia. Like she just started being pro-Russia openly.
It was crazy.
Noticeably, it was actually shortly before Russia invaded Ukraine. And she said, I'm thinking about becoming a member of the Russian Orthodox Church, which most people don't understand the significance of that. I mean, first of all, how does she even know what that is? Like she's not into this topic. So I knew someone was feeding it to her at that point. But that's also been controlled by the KGB and communists since forever. Like it still is. Yeah. So if you say I'm an American, it's like I'm thinking of joining the Russian Orthodox Church. That's not just spirit. Like you're saying I'm thinking of becoming a member of the communist apparatus in Russia. And so then I just followed who she was hanging out with, and it just became so fascinating. All the Russia-linked people that appeared in her life since 2018 on, until we eventually ended up in this scenario this year where she took a very deceptive trip that she lied about for a very suspicious trip to Russia that I thoroughly enjoyed blowing up in her face, because she said it was a family vacation.
To Russia.
Yeah. And I was already highlighting some of her connections to Russia, but what I hadn't said publicly was if she's getting sued and is going to lose those lawsuits, like virtually everybody thinks she will, I looked at every option. So I'm like, what can she do to preserve her wealth? What is she thinking? And I could only come up with one option, not two, one. And it was shift your assets to Dubai, which is what like Russian oligarchs do. And her friend Andrew Tate does and brags about, and move to Russia. And so when she started talking about how living in Russia is just like living in America, and she started saying all these propagandistic things that go beyond, even beyond your typical pro-Russia propagandist who will have caution. They'll be like, I don't agree with everything Russia does, but America's wrong. Like that's a typical pro-Russian propagandist that they have at least that. She doesn't have that. And so I knew I'm like something is going on. And then when she announced she was going to Russia for this family vacation, and within 24 hours, I found out the real reason she was lying. She was actually going to an event that Russian intelligence organizes every single year. Jeffrey Epstein and his Russian assistant used to help organize it.
Oh, wow.
And it's a spot to recruit Westerners into their influence operations. That's the purpose. It's the most secure spot you can go for secret meetings with Russian collaborators year round. If you don't want to go inside a government building, which is just like, it's too obvious, then what do? You go to this big event. And that's where she was going. And before she left the US, I released that information and it went very viral very quickly. But most people focused on the fact she was lying about it and how it was weird that she was going to Russia. Only a portion understood the bigger dynamics here of, I think she's playing the option to move there, but even if she doesn't, she's still part of the czarist Christian offensive against the United States and against the body of Christ.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to go back to, that was very interesting. I'm going to come back to that for a second, but I do want to tell people, when we were talking about Dunning-Kruger effect, right? People that know just a little bit and they preach it and talk about it as if they're experts. Candace Owens. Mm-hmm. Pick a topic that Candace talks about. Pick a topic and you're probably somewhere on the spectrum of Dunning-Kruger. There's very little that I believe this woman actually knows in her being, in her soul. What she says about Christianity, what she says about Islam, what she says about fill in the blanks. You would be, if you looked at Candace and you've ever wondered, like, how does she get away with this? That is Dunning-Kruger, literally in 4K, on steroids, as I like to say. That is it. So just take that and run with it. Check it out. Come back. Email management if you disagree.
So that's who they target, by the way. Like the intelligence services that do this stuff, they look for that. And if you look at how every Russia-linked person who has appeared in her life since 2018, when this began, and they began looking at her and saying, that's someone we can work with, they all praised her in the same over-the-top ways that normally, like if someone came to me and started saying, you're going to go down history as the biggest freedom fighter of all time for having liberated both black and white minds from slavery, I get a restraining order. Like the Russia-linked people that appear in her life from then all the way up until now praise her in ways that sound cartoonish and like a complete joke. But they're obviously sharing notes because if you're trying to recruit or build a relationship with someone, you're not going to take a gamble acting that weird and creepy because you might repel them. But they all know, praise her in the most obnoxious, unbelievable, puke-worthy way and do it publicly. And it works. Every single one of them does it. And it's specifically the ones that are linked to Russia. So there's some information sharing going on. That also encourages her to be worse. Like, I couldn't believe it when she said, I knew she was arrogant, but when she said, someone put together a compilation of like the more new age wacky stuff she was saying about how her and Charlie Kirk had superpowers and things like that. She actually
Milk
said,
Bar did.
What's that?
Milk Bar TV did.
Yeah, Milk Bar. Yeah, one of my favorite accounts. She actually said, this is God's platform. I am God's conduit.
Yep. That's crazy word.
You look at how she says it, she believes it. And she has people around her telling her it too.
No, I agree with you 100%. For some reason or another, Ryan, your audio is fuzzy. So help us understand, in your assessment, what is Candace today? What is she? Is she an asset? Is she a propagandist? Is she working for the red state? Like for Russia? Like what is she?
She is someone who is ideologically in league with Russia at this point, partially for the selfish ambition of preserving her wealth if she has to go move there. But even beyond that, she likes how they boost her. You can see the bots, the trolls. I mean, Russia's official propaganda networks and Iran's amplify her. Like that's part of the reason she has a big audience. She knows that.
Yeah, for sure.
More broadly, what you see is someone filled with hate and bitterness who claims to be a Christian.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.